Hello, I'm John David Bruja, standing in front of the Cape George Lighthouse in Nova Scotia, and welcome to a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner. Well, it's another early day, and we are at two lighthouses already. The Hazard Lighthouse, the Front Range, and of course behind it, the Rear Range. Both Hazard Point Front and Back Range lighthouses were activated in 1889. In 1948, the Front Range Tower increased its height almost 8 feet and was moved in 1902 and in 1936. And the Back Range light had a fixed red light until 1902, then went to a white light, and now both the Front and Back Range Hazard Point lighthouses show a fixed yellow light. No, a little rain is not going to stop me from seeing another lighthouse. I came prepared. I got my windbreaker on and my climbing shoes. That's right. The next couple of lighthouses we get to climb, not just inside, but hopefully all the way up to the lantern room. First up, Point Prim Lighthouse. First lit in 1845, making it the oldest lighthouse on Prince Edward Island. It is also 60 feet in height. At 60 feet in height, it is the only circular brick lighthouse on Prince Edward Island. The other one is located in British Columbia. It was electrified in 1969. In 1984, it was automated. And they did restoration in 2020, just in time for the 175th birthday. And that's right, I made it all the way up to the lantern room, Point Prim Lighthouse. The view, well, the rain kind of dampens a little, but it still was worth the climb all the way up to the top to see the light. Well, we're at our next lighthouse. The weather's a little better, so we were able to check out Panmure Head Lighthouse. First built in 1853 at a height of 61 feet. The white octagonal tower with a stone foundation sits on 3 acres of property which runs along the isthmus to the island. The cast iron lantern was installed in 1885 and it was electrified in 1958. Panmure Head Lighthouse was automated in 1985. And yes, that's right. It's another one we get to go inside and all the way up to the lantern room. And as you make your way up to Panmure Head Lighthouse Lantern Room, check out each floor and all the artifacts from this lighthouse and others. Well, I made it all the way up to the lantern room. Roughly 49 steps to the top of Panmure Head Lighthouse. It was the first wooden lighthouse built on Prince Edward Island. That's right, those are horses grazing alongside of Panmure Head Lighthouse. Well, we made it to Cape Bear Lighthouse. First built in 1881 at a height of 40 feet and 25 kilometers from Wood Island Ferry. It was moved in 1946 and 2015 because, of course, erosion being close to the cliff. And a Marconi wireless telegraph station was built adjacent to the Cape Bear Lighthouse in 1905. Only one of 7 established, but it ended in 1922 and moved to Charlottetown. But ironically, it has a connection to Titanic because on April 14th, 1912, Cape Bear Lighthouse was one of the first to receive a distress signal from the Titanic. And like the two previous lighthouses, we were also granted access into this lighthouse inside and all the way up to the lantern room for stunning views outside the surrounding area and the light, which is still working today at Cape Bear Lighthouse. Well, this is the last lighthouse in Prince Edward Island that we will see before we board the ferry and return to Nova Scotia. So we thought we'd get our money's worth and see three of them. It's the three Wood Island lighthouses. The original in the middle was established in 1876 at a height of 40 feet. The one on the left and the one on the right were front and back range lighthouses established in 1902. The front was at 19 feet and the back was at 32 feet. The main lighthouse was electrified in 1963, and the range lights were decommissioned in 2007, and in 2013 were moved next to the original lighthouse. Did I almost forget? This will be the last lighthouse. We get to climb all the way up to the lantern room in Prince Edward Island. Well, we boarded the ferry and we are now leaving Prince Edward Island. And you can see the Wood Island lighthouses in the distance. We'll be making our way to Nova Scotia and we'll see Caribou Lighthouse just before we reach land. While crossing the Northumberland Strait on the Northumberland Ferries Limited, we spotted the Caribou Light. The first light arrived in 1868, the second in 1915, and the current one was in 1971. The current Caribou Light was automated in 1990, but is still operational today. In 2016, the one-story section was demolished, so just the tower remains of Caribou Light. In fact, a 2/3 scale of the original 1915 Caribou Light was built around 2007 and is on display on the pier in Pictou, Nova Scotia. We docked at Pictou, reached our inn for the evening, unloaded our luggage, and headed out for supper. And after our excellent meal, we saw not one, but two full lights on our way back to our inn. We are now in Pictou, Nova Scotia, and I'm standing in front of the replica Caribou Lighthouse, which was brought here around the early 2000s. And it's located at the back of the Northumberland Fisheries Museum and Lighthouse Research and Interpretive Center. And we had a chance to go through both buildings and check out the unique artifacts. From the replica, a group of us went to the Northumberland Fisheries Museum, checked out the lobsters and other unique artifacts paying tribute to the fishing industry in the region. Then we went next door to the Hector Heritage Quay to view the restoration in progress of the Hector, to be completed in time for its 250th anniversary in the fall of 2023. Well, our last lighthouse was a replica, so why not go to another lighthouse that's a replica? The Eriseg Lighthouse. First established in 1898, unfortunately it burned down in 1939. Finally, local volunteers, along with the help of local government, built a replica behind me at a height of around 25 feet. And it's located alongside the Lobster Interpretive Center. I enjoyed the many different artifacts and of course the interactive touch tank where I got up close and personal with the lobsters. Well, we just came from the Eriseg Lobster Interpretive Marine Life Center, and your day is not complete unless you get pinched by a lobster, and I have written proof. Well, we made it to our next lighthouse. And no, this is not a replica. This is actually a real lighthouse. Cape George Lighthouse. And the current one behind me was built in 1968 at a height of 45 feet. The Cape George Lighthouse is a white concrete octagonal building with a red octagonal lantern room, and it was automated since its inception. This is the third lighthouse to be built on this spot. The first one was back in 1861, and then another one was completed in 1908. Well, if you happen to make it to Cape George Lighthouse on a clear day, you can see two islands in the distance, Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton Island. And to the right of Cape George Lighthouse is St. George's Bay. And to the left of Cape George Lighthouse is the Northumberland Strait. Well, we would have been here sooner, but we got stuck at Cape George Lighthouse. But we made it to our final lighthouse of the day, Harvey Boucher Lighthouse. Standing at 32 feet high, Harvey Boucher Lighthouse first arrived in 1842. The current came in 1879, and it was automated in 1963. In 1979, the lighthouse was purchased and moved several hundred meters south and became part of a private residence. Now, heavy rain and strong winds might be an annoyance to us as we search for Canadian lighthouses, but to lightkeepers, this was a 24/7, 365-day occurrence. And as for lighthouses, this is when they were at their best, guiding vessels safely through open waters. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm John David Bruja, standing in front of Peggy's Cove Lighthouse in Nova Scotia, Canada. This has been a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner, United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Tour. I hope you enjoyed the ride.